Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Reading the Room show with your host, Joyce Licorish. Listen, I am so incredibly excited about this amazing new author we're going to be interviewing today. If you've been watching the show, you know we love to interview authors that move, touch, inspire, uplift, and entertain and edutain with their books. So we have an amazing partnership with Authors Tranquility Press as well as Chosen Pen Publishing, and they love to send us their authors. So I love having them on the show. This should be episode, I don't know, I've lost count. We're not even going to say what episode number it is. We're just going to say we're excited to have Miss Felicia Brookins, the author, on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's my honor to be here.
Listen, I am telling you, I was looking through your work, the trilogy that you're working on, and I'm really excited to bring that to the masses. So I want you to first just give us a little bit of information about who Felicia is and what inspires you.
Felicia Brookins is a Meridian, Mississippi native. She currently lives in Jackson, Mississippi with her husband of 31 years. She has one son, one amazing goddaughter, and several godbabies. What else would I say? I'm pretty busy in the community. I say I'm a social butterfly. I am involved with our League of Women Voters here in the area, as well as with my church. And I naturally fell into writing because I grew up with a love for reading, a love for books that my mother instilled in me. And so it was a natural progression, I think, for me.
I love that. I love that. And I think the first thing that you said is so important. What inspires you and who you are is not what you do. You know what I mean? It's so many people's like, who are you? And the first thing they lead with, well, I'm a this, I'm a that. I love that you got into what inspires you to make you who you are. And so you are just an inspiration. I'm loving that. I'm loving that. So tell us the title of your trilogy.
It's called The Ways Trilogy. And I got that title from, I guess you could say, from our community, us. You know how we say, oh, she got some nasty ways. Oh, I just don't like her ways. And that is where the title came from, The Ways Trilogy series.
Love
and so
that.
all of the books have that title in it.
I love that. So let's just delve into book one. Give me just a little bit of information about book one, the characters, what happens, and what you want your readers to take away from it.
Book one is an introduction to a sad tale, I would say, of intergenerational trauma, where my main character, Sister Nadine Simmons, who is the head usher of Greater Tribes Missionary Baptist Church, does not know that she is wearing what I call a trauma coat that was passed down to her from her mother. And so she's married. And she wears the pants, the belt, and the drawers, as she says, in her household. So her husband can't be the man, though she says she wants him to be the man. She has 3 daughters. And so her husband is trying to tell her, you are going to pass this down to our daughters. And of course she says, well, you would say that because you're weak. The women in my family are strong. And she seems to have forgotten the trauma that she went through as a child. Because it came so normal to her that she wears it. She's very controlling. She runs her household like she runs her church with the iron fist. And so what I want people to mainly get out of this is courage to step back and say, is this me? Am I doing things that are passing down to my children that will repeat this pattern that even I don't recognize right now? And I want people to also be courageous enough to look in the mirror and say, if it is, I want to change. I'm sorry.
And
I want it to.
I love that. That's deep. That's deep. And I think you got into the tension between public faith and private pain.
Absolutely.
So we talked about that. A lot of people in the church, they seem, everything is great. Sister such and such and brother so and so have the perfect marriage, and behind closed doors, baby, it's a whole other conversation going on.
And it's interesting you mentioned that, because in the stage production that is adapted from the book, we have a couple, the Wrights. Deacon Wright and Sister Wright. And Deacon Wright, as Sister Nadine said, something don't seem right. At church, he's this outstanding deacon. He dresses the part, he looks the part, but when he gets home, he is abusing his wife verbally, emotionally, and physically. Not only that, he is abusing his stepdaughter in a way that, is inappropriate. I'll just say that. So
yeah, we've experienced that, and a lot of times that stuff gets swept under the rug, especially in the church. So that is a courageous thing that you've done, to kind of pull the curtain back on a story like that. Is there any truth in this aligned with your own life, or is this a fictional tale?
Well, I will begin answering that question by saying it has taken some time over the last 3 to 4 years, I'd say, for me to say, Felicia, you have to, if you're going to tell this story and write this story, you have to be bold enough to say what it is. And so I will say to you, the best way that I describe it is, I tell people it is like a big pan of macaroni and cheese. And sprinkled in that macaroni is that cheese, which is the truth. So there are greatly a large amount of truth sprinkled through that pan of macaroni and cheese. It looks so good and it looks so nice.
Yes,
ma'am. Trust, there's a lot of truth in there.
There's a lot of truth sprinkled up.
Some people read it and they just might choke a little bit, and they walk away hating poor Nadine. And I say, well, can you entertain the idea that Nadine is also a victim of intergenerational trauma? And initially they say, no, she's not a victim. I can't wait for her to get her. She ain't no victim, but she is.
Yes.
She just doesn't.
We are a product of our environment. So absolutely. A lot of time it's hurt people. I wrote a song called Hurt People years ago. And one of the lines in the song is, Mama did it, Daddy hid it. We dealing with it, broken past, right? Absolutely. The shattered glass of broken past is what we're dealing with. In a vicious cycle, absolutely. Love, hurt, and survival. Somebody got to break the chain. That's a line in my song. And I wrote that song because I found myself repeating some of the same patterns of the things that I grew up saying, and I'm never going to do that thing. Absolutely. Right? At some point, it takes an author like you to point out what those behaviors may be, so we can use that book as a mirror, right? That book becomes a mirror to reflect and see how we are possibly being just like Sister Nadine, honey.
Absolutely. It is a mirror to generational wounds.
My God, I love that
you use that, because that explains it perfectly. Yes.
And I love books that explore faith, hypocrisy, and healing. Because a lot of people want to pull the curtain back on the church because the church hurt, but they don't want to get into the healing, because we are all God's children and we're just growing through our pain and we're learning from our pain. But if you could write a book that uplifts somebody's spirit, that reflects that reflection on them, and they go, you know what, I was rooting for her to have a downfall, but I see me in her.
Absolutely, that's absolutely right. And so even in doing that, they have to also read this series, and they have to wrestle with the uncomfortable truth. That, okay, so my holiness is on display when I go into the sanctuary, but that doesn't mean that it's on display at home. They forget when they carry the image of God, but not the likeness. They forget the word says ministry begins at home.
I love it. That's
but Nadine forgets that, and she's the head usher at Greater Trials Missionary Baptist Church, but she forgets that part.
Indeed. Now, see, I'm ready to get the trilogy. I am ready to get the 3 books. And how long, tell me about your writing process, because when you think about a trilogy, it seems overwhelming. Like, how in the world did this woman find enough time to not write one book, not 2 books, but 3 books on this subject? So talk to me about the time that it took you to write this, and what your writing process looks like for somebody else out there with a little church hurt that might want to tell their story.
Well, I get that question a lot, and it's funny to me, because when I first tell them about book 1, Sister Nadine's Ways, I tell them it took me about 90 days to write that book, to just actually write it and get it all out, because I work better late night, house quiet, a little jazz, just relaxed. Mm-hmm. And then my creativity starts flowing. And I always say the Holy Spirit gives me a download. And so I wrote book one. It had everybody all twisted up and upset with Nadine. And they were waiting on book two. And I think book two, Josie's Ways of Grace, took me about 2 years to get written and published and edited and all of that.
Wow.
And then book three probably took about 2 years. And I like that space though, because that 2 year period gives everybody an opportunity, really, who hasn't, to go ahead and read book one and book two,
Play catch
and
up.
you're ready for book three. And you also, I know this may deviate just a little bit, but being an author, you have to have time to promote your work.
I love that.
You have to have time to get it out there and get it visible to other people. You don't want to just rush and put them out back to back, because you haven't thoroughly got everything you could get out of that book.
Absolutely. And that's powerful. And a lot of authors, because I work with authors all the time. I own a publishing company as well, Dream Empire Publishing. A lot of my authors want to rush to market with this book that they've been sitting on this idea for 20 years. They finally write it and they want to put it out Tuesday. And I'm like, what is your rush? What is your business driver to put your book out that quick without a proper ramp up of marketing and let people know what's coming? You have to build that momentum, and you have to build that desire in the marketplace. They say you got to see the same commercial 3, 4, 5 times before you even remember that you saw it. So if you just decided to finish writing this book and you don't pour your heart into it and truly write it, because a lot of people using AI now, and I'm not going to knock AI, but if you have a gift and you have a download in your spirit that God gave you, don't let AI write your story. Write your story. Use AI to clean it up if you need to. You don't want to pay an editor. But pour out on the page what God put in your spirit, and allow the spirit to lead you and guide you to write it, as he puts that download in you. Then if you need to clean it up. But take your time like you did and develop and craft that story. And it makes such a difference. It makes such a difference in your book. It creates your fan base. More people. Yes. Mm-hmm. And you know what? While people are waiting on book two, honey, you're promoting book one as it's going.
Absolutely. That's it.
You put that one out, then you could promote book two while you're writing it, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
I love
it. And you tease your fan base, because they're looking, and so you just give them little excerpts, and you still continue to work on book one, because if you really will slow down and step back and go through your book and sit with it, you will discover there's so many things that you can do with book one while you're working on book two to keep it visible and out there in front of other people and in front of your fan base. There is a lot. I'm still doing things from book one.
Yes. And somebody told me, honey, that there is a workbook to go with this book.
There is a workbook. See, that's what I'm saying to everybody. It is amazing what you can do with your book. Now, the workbook, I had that workbook sitting in my file for probably about 5 years. Again, it was an idea that I came up with thinking about my platform for this series. Okay, so my main character is this woman that has this intergenerational trauma, and instead of hiding these wounds, she needs to be trying to heal these wounds.
Exactly.
So, what can I do with this book or with this book series that can be a help to the woman healing? I've said she's got to look in the mirror and be honest with herself. So then what does she do with that? She comes up with a workbook. She comes up with something, a tool or resource that she can use to show her what that looks like, to help her go through those steps. And she needs that workbook from somebody who is authentic, that knows what it's like. That would be me.
I love that. And that would be you.
And Ms. so Felicia, the workbook is broken down. You have the mother-daughter relationship. You have the single woman, or as I call the wife in waiting. And then you also, you have your, I just went blank. You have your mother-daughter relationship. You have the single woman. And you also have the woman that is saying, when am I going to find the person that's for me, and why is it that I can't keep that person? What is it about me? You have to actually step back and examine yourself and say, what is it? Is it me? Or am I honest enough to accept that it's me? And so there are several questions in this workbook that person goes through it, and they have to ask themselves, these questions and answer them. And then we have activities for them to do. It is one of those workbooks where you at some point can sit off to yourself and answer questions, but you can also come together with a group of women and talk it out. Let's see, what's your experience been like? Well, what do I do to change this or that? It makes you think, and it also makes you be honest. And I really believe it's called a transformational workbook. And so I really believe that a transformation begins to take place. And for some, it may actually fully take place going through that workbook.
I love that. And you know what? That workbook ties into one of my other points that I have written down. I love your tagline. Setting the emotional, spiritual, and mental captive free, even if that includes me. Now, how does that philosophy shape the stories you write and the work you do with writers through Inspired Resources?
Well, it shapes it because, first of all, as I said, I have to sprinkle through those series my own personal truths. I have to show how my own trauma affected my life, but I want them to also see through that if that person is you, guess what? You can survive that. You can even become a conqueror of it. But again, you have to be honest with yourself and look yourself in the mirror. And so take a look at this book series. You see this woman right here? So in book 1, she is just hell on wheels, but thinks that she is so heavenly bound that she's no earthly good. And then in book 2, you see her have this come to Jesus moment right here, that starts to bring about a change in her, and then in book 3, you start to see what the daddy said when he told her that these seeds that you are releasing in this house, that you are putting in this ground, what you put in the ground is going to come up. You will reap what you sow. And she begins to see that in her children in book 3 in more ways than she even, cares to face.
Yeah, we see how that trauma is passed all the way down the line, right?
Right.
And I love that you chose to address that cycle in your writing. A lot of people don't get into that. They don't get that deep. They keep it surface level, try to entertain people, but you went deep.
Because you have to see too.
And I love
that even with her, there is redemption that is possible. But as I would always say about Nadine, it takes a hard deliverance for her. She has to go through, she has to go through something for God to be able to say, didn't I tell you to sit down somewhere, as my grandma would say?
Listen, Felicia, you know what they say. If you keep experiencing the same things over and over, that means you didn't learn the lesson the first time.
Absolutely.
So God had to bring it back around.
Yeah. So she wasn't listening. Her mother tried to tell her, even though, who is her mother? Well, she's the only person that can do anything with her. But her husband tried to tell her, but she has no respect for him and he can't get his pants back. So who else is going to be to get through to you?
Listen.
Nobody but God.
Nobody but the Most High. Nobody but the Most High.
And he has to snatch your soul literally out of your body to get your attention.
Yes, indeed. Miss Felicia, I'm going to tell you, I have enjoyed this conversation and I definitely am going to have to get my copy of the trilogy. But what I want you to do is I want you to tell my listeners and my viewers how and where they can get their hands on your books. Because, honey, they need all 4 of the books, the trilogy and the workbook.
Indeed. Well, they can go to Amazon and get the book, or Books A Million, Walmart.com. They can also go to Facebook, my author Felicia Brookins page. I have the links there. They can order from there. They can email me and let me know that they want to get the book. Then we'll set it up where it can be shipped to them. Author Felicia Brookins, and also on Instagram at Author Felicia KB.
And what we're going to do here at Dream Empire Publishing is we're going to make sure that we get the word out to our readers and our subscribers about you by way of the Reading the Room show. What we'll do is, if you're watching this right now, you'll be able to look in the comments and you'll be able to see the links that she just told us about. Please don't talk about it. Be about it. Take some action. support an amazing new author who has this. I shouldn't even say new. It's been baking in the oven, but support this author. She has poured her soul and her heart into this book series. So I just want to take a moment. I want to say thank you, thank you for joining. Thank you for coming on the Reading the Room show. Thank you for being so inspiring. Thank you for being transparent and sharing your story with the world. I think that you too, just like all the authors we have on our show, have something special in you, and you decided to share it. And that's God's gift to the world by way of Miss Felicia. So thank you. Give yourself a virtual high five. Boom. We appreciate you being on the show. Listen, my name is Joyce Licorish. You guys know who I am. Make sure you stay tuned to the Reading the Room show, presented to you by Dream Empire Publishing, Dream Empire Films. If you or somebody you know wants to publish your next book, make sure you visit us at dreamempirepublishing.com and get started. And if you need a personal mentor, I'm your girl. www.dreamsbyjl.com is our sponsor. I do it all. I do film, television, as well as books, and books adapted to screenplay. And I absolutely love meeting authors like Miss Felicia. So thanks again for being on our show, and we'll see you next time.